visitors, welcome. I shall start this morning's meeting with the karakia. Tuia ki runga, tuia ki raro, tuia ki roto, tuia ki waho, tuia tātou te tangata, kei te kaupapa o te hui nei, kei te kaupapa o te rangi nei, mori ora ki a tātou katoa. Bind above, bind below, bind within, bind beyond, bind us to the people, to the purpose of our meeting, to the purpose of this day, breathe life into all of us. Yes, welcome everybody. Just a reminder that this meeting is being recorded and can be viewed on the Council's YouTube channel. Remember to keep your microphones muted unless speaking, and if you wish to speak, just pop your hand up so we can spot you. The media may be, oh, I've just walked into the room. The media is present, just to make you aware of that. And I think that's all we need to cover. So we will just start with apologies. So we have apologies this morning from Councillor Greening, Ms Starkey, and Deputy Mayor Bryant, and we have an apology for lateness from Councillor Maru. So do I have someone to move those apologies, please? Moved by Councillor Ellis, seconded Councillor Dowler. All those in favour, please say aye. Against, carried. We don't have anyone speaking in the public forum this morning. Are there any declarations of interest in relation to today's meeting? There are no declarations of interest. We don't have any late items. And that takes us to confirmation of our minutes of our meeting held on the 17th of April. Do I have a mover to confirm they are a true and correct record? Moved Councillor Mayling, seconded Councillor Dowler. I thought you nodded at me. Yeah. Oh. Okay, we'll get Councillor Butler to do it instead. I'll put that resolution. All those in favour, please say aye. Against, that is carried. Now, just a heads up, councillors, we are going to just have a slight change to the order on our agenda this morning. So we've got our two presentations, and then after our presentations, we're going to move up the report 7.66 on the speed management consultation, and then everything else will just carry on after that. So we're moving up that item on the agenda. Without any further ado, I think we'll welcome Katrina from the Moutere Hills Community Centre for your presentation, and welcome. Nice to see you again. Okay, yeah, so just help is on its way. So Katrina, I'll pass over to you to do your introductions. We've got 10 minutes allocated, and so that will include questions if we have time. So I'll hand over to you. Thank you.
Great, thank you for that. So I'm Katrina McLean, Facility Manager at Moutere Hills Community Centre, and with me is Steph Jury, who is a board member at the centre. What we're really here to present is what we've been achieving at the centre and also the direction we want to move forward. Oh, here we go. Sorry, trying to work out technology. Okay, so the vision of our organisation is connecting our community, and we feel we've done that pretty well. We're held up around the country as a positive community council partnership, And our recent achievement has been in the Sport New Zealand Spaces and Places resource as a best practice model. I think it highlights the importance of the facility to our community and the positive support we've seen to date from the Tasman District Council to make it happen and make it the facility that it is today. Excuse me. Over the past 2 years, we've done some major contributions of community investment in the facility. The tennis court lights, so these were funded entirely through community fundraising and grants. So we spent nearly 100,000 on getting those installed at the centre. They've made a huge difference to Upper Motoori Tennis Club. The membership has increased. It's also included usage for other purposes, such as other sports practices when it's wet and the fields are closed. Also enabled fitness classes to take place early morning, late at night, and we've also used them for new sports such as pickleball. We've done a community sports viewing space to allow for better space for our playgroup and also for all the parents that come to all our after school and evening activities with children, gives them somewhere to leave them where they're safe, but they can still keep an eye on them and participate. And then also the community barbecue area. We did receive some funding, which we're extremely grateful for, from grants from rates. And we did a lot of fundraising and community donations again to get a free community barbecue out at the centre, which is used quite regularly, particularly after a lot of sports practices. Now, you'll probably hopefully all be aware of the hard time we had in 2013 when we had some devastating fires, but the positive of that was how the community came together. We did feasibility studies, we surveyed the community for what they wanted, and the big thing that came out of that was the community fitness centre. The project was actually completed as part of the rebuild of the community centre after the fires, but it was 100% community funded. So again, fundraising, sponsorship, commercial donations and funding from lotteries, Rata Foundation, etc. The build 10 years ago cost us 170,000 and the fit out cost us 80,000, which was funded through a very generous interest-free loan from a local family, showing the support that we do receive from the community, which we're extremely grateful for. And on the positive, this loan has been fully repaid several years ago. The floor area of the space is 95 square metres, and at the time we carried out the feasibility, we had a break-even point of 60 members. So currently, the fitness centre has a current membership of 598 members. This includes fitness class concession holders. As you can see, our breakdown, one of the really positive areas in the demographic breakdown is the teenagers that we have. It's our way to connect with a lot of teenagers in our community, many of which go in different directions out to the high schools via bus. So it's one place that can come together and connect. We always struggled with getting them involved in programs and etc. But for some reason, they are loving the fitness centre, and we've got currently 113 teenagers that are members of the centre. Pretty even distribution of male and female as well. So the fitness centre is viewed as a really positive asset for our community. We recently did some community surveys. Some of the feedback we've put up here, I won't read them all, but one of the positive ones, I suppose, is that the quote that's become an integral part of our healthy family life, used by all of us, 2 adults and 3 teenage children. It's an amazing resource for the community and it's highly valued. We want to ensure that continues to happen. As part of the survey, we also got feedback on where to from here. Some of the feedback, well, pretty much all of the feedback said not enough space, too small, getting too crowded. And our challenge is, how do we stop community using it that want to use it? So how do we keep meeting that need? Where we've gone is we've tried to develop spaces within the facility. We've had some other spaces that we've taken over, repurposed and tried to make do, but it's led to the point where it's just not enough. So where to from here? Well, we've begun work on expanding the fitness centre. So what we're hoping to do is make it double the size. As you can see, we've put up plans there. The first part of it, the top part of it, is the current fitness centre. And as you can see, we're looking at trying to double the size of it and create one entry space into the two current separate spaces that we currently use for the fitness centre. The reason we need this is that the fitness centre currently brings in, over the last 12 months, it gave us $188,000 towards the revenue for the community centre. With the struggle for contestable funding, trying to support our community on other initiatives, that is vital for the continued operation of the centre. So we're looking at the build, the extension, and the estimated cost of this extension is $650,000. Quite a shock to us. Up to 10 years ago, it was $170 to build the initial. To double the size now is going to cost us $650. Some of the issue with this is that we need to remedy the current issues with condensation and poor air quality. The estimated cost to do this is $100,000. So, there we go. Where to from here? Well, it is, again, a positive example of the council community partnership. We've been working with some of the council staff to try and come up with a plan that will meet all the criteria that needed to be on reserve land, to continue to be a positive community asset now and in the future. Where we're at is we've received approval from our board. We've surveyed the community who've all supported it, provided feedback on draft plans, and we've received approval from council staff to move forward with this project. We've employed an architect, and so far the centre has paid $23,500 towards the plans required, as well as the structural drawings. We are in the process of fundraising for this, doing community fundraising events, and we're lucky enough to have some donations. The other day we have been granted $10,000 from the Motori Hop Committee, who was amazing support for the facility. So it actually shows the want and the need in our community to actually get this project happening. That we surveyed our users and they wanted it to happen. So we increased our fees by $1 a week. That $1 per week is going straight into the rebuild funds, so that the users of the facility are also contributing to make this happen. And believe it or not, we actually had no negative feedback from this. Everyone was really supportive of getting it to happen. So where we're at today and why we're here today is we wanted to inform you of the project, and we wanted to ask for council support for this project. We are hoping that some way we can receive council support in the form of support with building consent fees, and also we would love council support in fixing the current issue with the facility. So the condensation and poor air quality, it's been an issue since it was built. About approximately 5 years ago, the council invested some money into try and remedy this issue by putting in vents in the ceiling. Unfortunately, it made no difference whatsoever. But to be able to move forward with this project, we have to have an answer to that issue to get it through the building consent process. What we would like as part of the council support is to actually fund the remedial issues with this so we can move forward with the project. So really our question is, how can this support be realised? We know this question won't be answered here today, but we just wanted it to be out there, put in the mind of councillors, and love some kind of response on how we can move forward with it. Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much, Katrina. I think that your presentation is very clear. We are out of time, so we will just leave it there, and it'll be for council staff to work out how to have a further conversation about it. But you know, you've got a community centre there, which I think is the envy of many other communities, and so thank you very much for everything that you do there. Thank you. All right, that brings us to our second presentation for this morning, and welcome, Drew. Always look forward to hearing what you've got to tell us. So I shall hand it over to you. Thank you.
Kia ora. Thank you for having me again. It's always a pleasure to sit down and see your faces and have a good conversation and answer some curly questions. I guess, yeah, it's good to be back in front of you. It's been a while. I've missed a meeting. I've had a pretty busy last sort of 6 months of my life. So I thought I'd share the next photo with you as well, just to sort of show you why. So if we could go to the next slide, please. Yeah, we had a wee girl. So yeah, we've got 3 at home now, so times are a little bit tough for me. That's the main problem, yes. So yeah, I've pulled together a few slides and highlights of our renewal season to present to you today. Sorry, Councillor Walker, there'll be no pothole stats. And I guess we've undertaken several major projects, very high-profile projects this season. The 3 I'll be covering today are the Wensley Road rehabilitation and widening, the Talbot Street rehabilitation, as well as our reseal season. Next slide, please. So the reseal season for us this year came with its fair share of challenges, as per normal. When you're working on that many sites and covering that much road, there's always something that's going to crop up. But the team's dealt with it very well this year. We've sealed a total of 295,000 square metres on the network, which has taken approximately 550,000 litres of bitumen emulsion. And to put that in perspective, the sprayer you can see there holds 3,800 litres, which meant it needed to be filled up 145 times to complete that work. Obviously, once we spray the emulsion, we need stone to stick on top. And those of you that attended the sealing visit that we did, you would know that the stone on top is for grip, so vehicles don't slide on it. To put that chip in, we had to run 450 truckloads of material. All in all, it's been a great season, very productive, and it's great to see our reseal crew deliver the entire program. Next slide, please. Possibly the biggest piece of work we delivered this year was the Wensley Road rehabilitation and widening project. It's a strategic infrastructure upgrade focused on improving safety, capacity and long-term resilience of the network. We rehabilitated the existing pavement and widened part of the road corridor to get rid of some speed bumps and a speed restriction. Some of the key challenges that we overcame, obviously a complex urban setting, busy residential area, school kids present, close to a retirement village, and obviously needed careful planning to minimise disruption day to day for the travelling public as well as the residents. Very tight construction corridor. We had a limited working space and proximity to existing infrastructure added quite a bit of complexity to excavation. We had to rehouse several services, whether they be water mains or power or telecom cables as well to get them out of the road formation. Traffic management, everyone's favourite topic. We managed to do this under a road closure, which sped the timeframe for construction up considerably. And I guess part of that was obviously maintaining access at all times for emergency services as well as local residents. And it required concise coordination. Weather and ground conditions, obviously with projects in older areas of town, the ground conditions aren't always known. We came across obviously coal tar that we knew was there from previous work, so we dealt with that. As well as the weather, it's always a good one for construction programs. But all in all, we did come out on program, and we opened the day we advertised we were going to open. So it was a really good outcome. Some of the highlights. The project delivery, combining the rehabilitation with the widening. So we did all the work in one hit. It was really good. The road closure, we obviously accelerated that timeline, minimising the disruption. The enhanced safety and capacity of the road is a huge success. Sustainable and fit for purpose design. So we've significantly improved the structural capacity of the road. And the specific design allows to carry the e-buses as well. Strong community engagement, transparent communications and regular updates help maintain public support. So overall, the project, next slide please. The project was delivered on time, and the team have gone over and above with it. Next slide please. And that's the final product. If you haven't driven it, I'm sure you all have, but I'd recommend you get out and have a look. It looks pretty spiffy. Next slide, please. The next project that we undertook happened at the same time that Wensley Road was on. In 6 days, we removed 960 cubic metres of Talbot Street. You can see there at the top left is the milling machine that we used. And also the middle centre photo, you can see the massive sways of road that it just rips out in one go. So we then laid a engineered designed pavement once again, comprising of 2,018 tonnes of different mixes laid in different layers. Once again, thanks to a full road closure, we're able to achieve a high level of productivity with minimal disruption. Partial access was also reinstated after 3 days to allow the public to do their weekend shopping at the mall. The entire 4,364 square metre stretch of Talbot Street was reopened on day 6, which was bang on program again. We've received a lot of positive feedback about the quality of the ride, which is really good feedback for us to have. And one of the highlights there, you'll see the top middle photo, we were running the pavers in echelon, which means we were running one paver slightly in front of the other, effectively side by side. So by running 2 pavers, we only have one cold joint on the whole site, which is on the centre line of the road, or the high point. So there's minimal areas for the wearing course to degrade with water getting into joins. So it's a really high quality product. Next slide, please. So that's just a picture of the paver pushing a truck. Next slide. I took that one. It's very artistic. Next slide, please. And I guess the finished product does look really good. Once again, if you haven't driven it, go for a drive. It's a vast improvement of what there was before, and it's built for, to withstand well into the future. It even attracted some positive Facebook commentary there you can see that comment there, which is odd for us. Next slide, please. I guess often leadership positions in companies or contracts get the praise for successful delivery, and I guess maybe it's because we present to operations committees. While I can attest to the quality of our leadership team, the reason for the success on these projects runs right from the top right through operators, labourers, and the traffic control staff. When you're out on site and you hear the team engaging with the public and saying things like, "Oh, Jim, you're running late for work today, aren't you?" you know you've got the team there to make the projects a success. On Winsley Road, we had Site 1 and Site 2 operating with a section of open road between them. The staff on each road were running a competition as to who could get the most home baking brought out to them daily. And you can see there from the photos, it's just a few photos of what was delivered to the team. I can tell you Site 2 won, and I've got my reservations, it's closer to the retirement village. Yeah, we're actually going to take the team out to the Honest Lawyer on Friday night for our renewal season. Obviously, the 3 projects I've just spoken about, just to thank them because it was a really seamless delivery for us. Next slide, please. I guess when we're talking about meaningful engagement with the community, and it's a good segue from the people, obviously we can talk about the strategies, tools, timelines, but what really makes a difference is the people out on site. So you'll see there a couple of things. What we noticed was the Facebook commentary, typically being very negative, but the communication strategy that we put in place with both Winsley Road and Talbot was completely different, something we've never done before. And it seems to have worked a treat. We drew the residents we treated them like part of our team. You know, we're all in it together. And what we found was when we saw comments come up on public forums like the Richmond Community Notice Board, the residents would actually jump in and defend what was happening on site. And you can see the bottom right corner there is an example of that. So yeah, it was really good to see that strategy coming into place and those people on site connecting with the residents. You'll see in the middle there, that's Tyler. He's our cadet who is responsible for the survey work on Winsley Road. Tyler got a beanie knitted from one of the members of Public Forum and a nice handwritten note thanking him for his hard work, which is really cool. And I guess ongoing, we are continually refining our communication styles, our communication procedures. And we do have a very driven lady who you met last time who's sitting behind me, a young lady called Marisa, who's driving that. The latest sort of thing we've done is revamped our communication or notification template on the left there, just making both the Tasman District Council and the Downer brand through the Alliance a little bit more professional. Yeah, so thank you for that.
All right, thank you very much, Drew. Look, firstly, congratulations on the addition to your family. I'm sure that is a very busy household, and well done on that. And could I just take this opportunity to publicly thank Downers for the contribution that you made from your community fund to the pathway in Wakefield. That's been brilliant, really, really appreciated by the community who now are getting to have clean shoes instead of muddy shoes. So great that that community contribution from Downers was integral to that project being successful. And Winsley Road, I mean, honestly, the memory of not being able to drive down there or driving down before is completely dim in my mind from the joy I get from driving down there now. So well done. So we are out of time, so we'll leave it there. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And appreciate your efforts. So that now takes us to our, I did omit to say before, just so councillors are aware, that we do have Councillor Hill on Zoom. So report 7.6, phase 2 speed management consultation. Welcome Bill and Jane. So over to you with your report, please.
Through the chair, thank you for your time today. So we've had a series of meetings with all the ward councillors regarding this proposed speed changes. So we'll take the report as read. We do recommend consulting on the narrow, winding, unsealed roads as proposed and getting public feedback, noting that previous feedback has been in favour of speed reductions on these types of roads. During the deliberations, the new feedback can be considered to inform decisions on whether speed reductions will be necessary or whether we would use advisory signs on specific places. For these types of roads, where there have been short adjoining unsealed roads, we've also proposed reductions, and there's been two reasons for this. One is just to have consistency in the network, but it's also by consulting, it gives us the ability to make decisions on the roads rather than not deciding, saying let's do it later and having to reconsult. Just in regards to the urban roads with no footpaths, following Councillor Dakey's questions, the current rule does not allow for reductions down to 30 kilometres, and our LTP budgets, they do cover all of the speed changes over a 10-year period, and the phase 2 changes that we're proposing will occur over a 3-year period starting July 2026. So we'll take any questions.
All right, thank you. We've got Mia Tum.
Yeah, I guess I'll focus on the narrow, windy roads, and I have no doubt that the feedback is that people would like to see speed reductions. The question for us is, what form of information will most likely result in a reduction in speed on those roads, if that is the intent? And I don't believe that putting a 60 km/h sign on a road where the average speed is 25 now, or 31 or 42, is the right message to send to somebody who is going up that road. Because at the moment there is no sign on the road, nothing. There is no signage. People are driving at 25 or 31 or 42 because of the conditions. If you put a 60 km/h sign, there's at least the possibility, given we know that people treat speed limit signs as targets, and there's an entire campaign around trying to break people's habit of driving to the sign, it seems to be much more likely that putting a sign that has the squiggly road and 30 kilometres an hour for the next 5 kilometres is a much better use of our money, because the sign's going to cost the same amount, right? The pole, putting it in the ground. But the message you put on the sign much more closely aligns to what you want to happen, which is you want people to drive at the appropriate speed, which is probably the average speed that's currently being driven on that road. So I don't really mind if we go out and consult on the basis of putting 60 km/h signs up all over the shop on these narrow winding roads, but I strongly believe that's the wrong use of the limited resources that we have to implement this program in terms of the actual signage and the physical work on the ground. So that's my key point. I'm making it here. I already made it in the meetings that we had with councillors. So I just want to reiterate it. What the council decides to do in terms of consultation, I'm pretty relaxed about, to be honest. But I think we need to be really clear. If we want to achieve certain outcomes, we probably need to consider whether putting 60 km/h signs on roads where the speed limit's already way under that is the appropriate way of achieving it. The other thing I would note is that out of this conversation, it's become very clear that the average speed limit thing is a bit of a nonsense. I asked Bill about our road. It leads to these Valley Sawmills, double lane, tar sealed road, 2 km/h speed limit. And so just out of interest, what's the average speed limit? And what was it? It was something like, I don't know, it was 40 km/h or something. And the narrow windy untar seal bit, which was above that, was slightly higher, but still dramatically below 100 kilometres an hour. And when you first look at it, it seems a bit nonsensical. How on earth is that possible? But when you actually stop and think about it, it becomes quite logical, because people turn onto the road, they start off at almost 0 kilometres an hour, they speed up, and then if they're turning off into the sawmill, they slow down again before they turn left, and then they approach the transition between the sealed road and the unsealed road, and they slow down again, then they speed up again. So I think there's also a bit of a risk of just relying on the averages. Because it sounds like a statistically really robust bit of information, because it's driven out of data collected from TomTom, good old TomTom, the highly reliable source of information. But actually, when you look at it, it doesn't seem quite as robust as you might think. So anyway, that's my view. I'm pretty relaxed about the resolution, but I strongly believe that if we're going to spend money on signage, it probably would be better on advisory signs that better reflect the actual situation than just a speed limit sign.
Thank you. I guess maybe Jane or Bill, do you want to respond to the point that's been raised? Do you see in any way that what we have proposed to go out and consult on would stop us from putting wiggly signs, should we decide to, as opposed to a 60-kilometre sign? Like, is that option still open to us based on what we're proposing to consult on?
So certainly when, or after we've consulted, we take into account the responses and then make a decision. So we have the ability, or council has the ability, to decide to not implement what has been consulted on. And certainly we don't need to consult on putting in speed advisory signs. So there is nothing to stop us or stop council deciding to not implement the proposal that's consulted on, and then implementing something different that involves some speed advisory signs. And so just in response to the TomTom data, that is data that's recovered from, so TomTom actually drives the GPS unit in Apple phones, iPhones. So it picks up every iPhone that's got its sat nav turned on. So it's a big volume of data, but as Mayor Tim has indicated, it is an average of averages, and so yeah, it doesn't necessarily indicate the maximum speed that's travelled over that section of road.
All right, thank you for that. I wonder whether Android users are.
I was going to say, is there a difference between average speed of Android users and Apple users? The only thing I'd say is it will be difficult if you go out and consult on 60-kilometre-an-hour signs, and inevitably will, because I know what you'll get back. People will go, yes, we want speed reduction. And then you'll have a whole lot of submissions saying we support the 60-kilometre-an-hour signs, because that's what you're consulting on, and that's what we believe is the best way to bring down the speed limit, because that's what they want to see. So I 100% agree. We absolutely could not do it but if you consult on that and people don't see the other option or consider it and weigh up the two, I'm just slightly concerned that you might end up with a whole lot of supportive submissions, which then actually makes it quite difficult to not implement that solution. That's all I remember.
I guess, Mr. Mayor, given where we're at, have you considered an amendment to the resolutions? And maybe I'll just leave you with that thought while we go to another speaker. Yep. Okay. Well, which we've got quite a number. So, Councillor Dakey.
Thank you, through the chair. My comment is very similar to the mayor's, but relates to 40k for urban streets with no footpath. And that is that often the speed is a lot lower than the 40. And I guess in the same situation, we could look at the deliberation stage at other options. So that could be children at play, slow down, because I can imagine that I think the lowest street I can remember was 4k per hour was the TomTom speed there, and I thought 4k. Well, if we put up 40s, that's very counterproductive. So I'm comfortable from what we've discussed that we could probably look at other options at the actual time of rollout. I did have a question about a particular street because we did it ward by ward. I didn't pick the street up earlier, but Mapua Causeway, it's proposed to go from 100 to 50. Now, I would have thought it fits in the other categories of unconventional or beach access. I would have hoped that it could have been lower. Was that considered?
That was considered as part of the conversations we had with the Mutu Waimea councillors. And that was what we initially proposed, but through conversations with those councillors, they preferred it to go to 50, so it was more consistent with the current speed.
The problem I have with that is there is no footpath, and it is a shared space for walkers and bikers, and it does lead to what is essentially a campground or recreation reserve. So I have a bit of problem with that, but if that's what the ward councillors were happy with, then I'll take their judgment.
Councillor Butler and then Councillor Walker.
Thank you. Yeah, I've had, we've done a lot of work on this in relation to windy roads in Golden Bay, and yeah, I agree that in some situations putting up a 60k sign is actually a sort of pointless thing, really, because people can't go 60. Is there a chance that we can consult on asking people whether or not they would prefer to have an advisory sign, or can we just, as Bill said, make the decision when we've done the consultation to decide that some of these roads that it's actually could even be counterproductive? Do we know that? Do we have any science about that? To put up a sign which is actually which would be dangerous and inappropriate driving on that particular road. So, I mean, I agree with the Mayor that, you know, we may be just, in putting up a lot of these 60 signs, it may be a bit pointless. And the other question is, we've got some situations where we've got sort of urban roads and they're going down to 50. They haven't got, and some of them down to 40, but we've got these winding rural roads which are having to be 60. So it just seems like we're being constrained by a kind of model that is a bit possibly nonsensical. And I think we've got to try and make sense of it and get the best thing for our communities.
Through the chair, I think that we can include in the consultation some sort of question that says, would you prefer to go this way or to go with the more advisory speed or advisory signs? And we can...
Right, I note on that point. So we haven't moved this resolution, so we have got a suggested change, which is subject to advisory signs instead of regulatory signs being incorporated as an option in the consultation document. Yeah, yep. Yep. All right, let's just leave that for the time being. So we'll go to Councillor Walker.
Thank you, through Chair. So yes, glad to see there's going to be an amendment, but I want to know, can we deliver on that? So if our community give us a clear steer that they want to do the, whatever we're calling them, advisory signs, that we can actually deliver on that. And my other question is, like, well, first of all, it's a statement. We've been out and consulted previously. We've heard from many of our community about the roads, the speeds and what their concerns are. Maraho, for example, since 2019, have been talking to me. You drive through Maraho, 30k. You get to Maraho Valley, 100k. They've been asking for a 30k change for all these years. We're proposing that we're going to drop it to 60, yet we know they can't safely do 60. Endorses what the Mayor spoke about earlier. I don't know where we got to with Harvey Road. That seems to, I don't see that on my list. However, there is quite a bit of reading and I may have missed something. I'm human, do make the odd error. But I just question if we're going out to consult on material we consulted on under a different government at the time. We've heard the voice and we're going back out. Is the amendment actually something we can deliver on, or is it a token gesture?
Through the chair, I think we can certainly deliver more signage using the funding that has been allocated for the speed implementation. Now, we don't get any NZTA subsidy on that apart from the school variable signs, but it has been allocated in the LDP at 250,000 a year for the next 10 years. So we probably won't be able to deliver it immediately, but we'll be able to deliver it over a period of time.
And so do you have a specific question, Councillor Walker?
Question, yeah, the question is, what signage are we going to use? And I get that it's in the long-term plan for the next 10 years. I also get that a change of government could change the direction again. And we're consulting today, or in the near future, on something that this council, a new council, and in time, that money may not be there. We're asking for a decision, which we did in 2019. We got a clear message from our community. We haven't been able to deliver on that. That's not our own personal doing. Are we going to be in the same position? And we've gone out and spent a lot of money in consulting to put 60k signs up, and actually you can't drive 60k.
Bill. Through the chair, I think changes of government and the direction of government is something that we can't predict. I commented to somebody yesterday that it's well outside my sphere of expertise. And certainly there have been, since 2017, 3 different speed limit setting rules. And there is no guarantee that any incoming government will not change it again. But we can do the best that we can. Certainly we have resources to implement these changes over a period of time. But if there is a change of government and a change of the rule that means we're required to do something different, we'll have to live with that. And I can't guarantee that there won't be.
Thank you, Mr. Kirby.
Can I just add to that? I totally agree with what Bill says, but in terms of advisory signs can still be put up, but remember the regulatory side of it, it'll still be 100k. So the advisory sign is just to advise people, like you have now when you see corners, you go along, advisory 30k or 70k and a yellow sign. So the advisory signs would go up, but theoretically, in terms of speed limits, the 100k would still apply, open speed limit. As soon as you reduce that, you have to put signage up. So in the case of Maraho, even though it's 30k through the town, advisory signs on the 100k section would suffice to let people know that, okay, this is the advisory speed, even though they may legally know that it's 100k. So I think, and the cost of putting up those yellow advisory signs are slightly cheaper than putting up speed limit signs, I would imagine. Yeah.
Right, well, save money. Councillor Dowler, then Councillor Kinmonth, then Councillor Ellis.
Yeah, well, being around this table for so long and how many speed limit changes I've been involved with, and Tim as well, over the years, it's been huge. Finally, we're getting back into the real world. We haven't done it for a while. I agree with Tim 100% on the advisory signs, which I've spoken quite hard about when we've had our meetings. A target is a speed limit, and just following on what Richard just said then, if there's no If it's not 60k, it's going to be 100, rah, rah, rah. You put your advisory sign. One thing I'll ask, if we make it 60k, every 2 kilometres, we've got to have 60k signs on both sides of the road. And they're worth $300 a sign, I understand. So if it's a 5k road, you'll have 2, 4, probably 6 signs. Where if you just leave it at 100k, you have one sign at the start, and then you put your advisory sign up, and it doesn't need another sign for that distance of 5k or whatever. So there is a saving in doing that. I'd be interested to know what the actual average speed on East Valley Road would be if the mayor didn't live there. It would probably be 10 kilometres an hour, but we won't go any further on that one. So I'm actually happy to move if we can keep that in there and make it real to the people, that they can actually say that an advisory sign is a good idea. Obviously, the school side of it is all happening regardless anyway, because we're going to have them in place by sometime next year. So yeah, no, I'm more than happy with what I see. I hope all the other councillors are happy with what they see in their wards. I've supported one area in our ward that people have been banging my door since probably 2017, and it's in there. So hopefully they'll now submit to say that they want it, which I think they will. So yeah, happy to move. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Dowler. Councillor Cullen-Month.
Thank you. Through you, Madam Chair. I think one thing we're missing here, and maybe Bill can correct me, is that this is over a 10-year period. And so we've prioritised the urgent ones where the crashes are. But when it comes to a stupid causeway I shouldn't say stupid, but a causeway at Mapua Leisure Park, which is narrow, which is currently 100, we travel at about 15 at best, and we're going to reduce it to 30. That reduction will happen in year 9.5, isn't it? So we're going to prioritise the work. So correct me here. We will, when we go out to consult, we'll make it clear to the people that we're going to be spreading this out over 10 years, not just in the next 18 months to 2 years' time.
So the consultation document and the where it has the cost benefit analysis tables, that has a column in there that shows what phase each of the roads will be implemented, and we've got started July 2026, July 2027, July 2028.
Thank you. Councillor Ellis, then Mayor King.
Thank you, through you, Chair. I'm finding this is nothing critical about staff, because I applaud the work that you've done on this so far, because we've been watching these speed limit changes and consultation going on for so long now, and while I'm really in favour of consulting our community, in this particular case, I actually wonder whether the scope of going out at this level is really worth it. We've got a very clear message from our communities about, and very expensive previous consultation. Do we have any indication on how much this consultation will cost? Because to me, consultation is very expensive, and it's money worth spending, don't get me wrong, generally. But in these cases, we've been out and consulted to death on this. What would the difference in cost be if we completely took out the windy roads, took on the Mayor's conversation about using information signs as opposed to speed limit reduction signs, and actually only consulted on these targeted roads that have been identified by previous consultation with the ward councillors and requests from the community, and kept it very specific and could actually save quite a, I don't know, what could we save on our consultation costs, and actually put that into getting these signs into the most appropriate places. Because to me, it feels like such a waste of money to continue doing this over and over and over again and get no result out of it, where we could make a decision as governors to focus on these advisory signs, only work on these roads that are identified as important to communities that they are dropped on. Do we have any idea of what these costs are?
So I don't think the savings would be as much as you potentially may think. So because at the moment we've set up all the documents that are all ready to go and would tick all of the NZTA tick boxes. So in terms of consultation material, it is just us finessing the questions. We've talked about including the question on advisory signs and then putting it up on Shape Tasman. And then it's just staff time going through all of the responses. And we're going to be doing it by ward, just so because so many roads, we just want to kind of get the granularity of what people are saying about their particular area. And that's all ready to go. So it's something that can be done in staff time and create a deliberations report like we did for phase 1. If we were to now pull out roads, that would actually put a delay because the maps aren't done by, say, windy roads and urban roads without footpaths. They're done on an area basis rather than a category basis. It would take probably a couple more weeks, which actually puts out our timeline into trying to get the decisions made in this triennium. So, yeah.
I might just add that if I may. So at this point in the process, I suspect the time in resetting things would be comparable to the time that we'll spend on analysing submissions. So there's probably no time saving. I guess that I remember after the new government introduced its new regulations and we came to you and asked, how do you want to tackle this beast? We've got a few options in front of us. And I guess we've followed that course to date and we probably could have avoided quite a bit of cost taking a different turn, using a road analogy at that point. Right now, it's probably negligible.
Thank you. Mia King.
I just want to, I know I'm labouring this point, but we've only got X amount of money. There is only X amount. And as someone mentioned, the next council may decide to reduce that budget or increase it, as the case may be. Chances of increasing it seem slim. So you want to get the maximum number of these roads signposted and for the money that you have. My understanding is you do have to, if you put the 60K, you have to have 2 signs, and then do you also have to repeat them after a certain distance? Or can you just have 1 sign?
You need to, if it's over 60 kilometres an hour, you have to have a repeater sign every 2 kilometres.
Okay, but for 60 kilometre, so for a 60 kilometre speed limit, you don't have to have the repeater signs, but do you have to have 2 at the start and on each side of the road? Or not?
Through the chair, you have to have 1 on the left-hand side and 1 on the left-hand side going the other way. So you've got to, for your change of speed limit, you've got to have...
Yeah, and then coming back again, you have to, so you've got to have 2 signs. Yeah. So if you go to page 175, there's a picture in the agenda. I don't know if we can put it up on the board, but basically it's a start of a windy gravel road. It's the example we've used. It's got a windy gravel road sign on here. It's got a giveaway sign on the intersection. It's got a white circle with the black line through, which is open speed limit sign on the right, and it's got 1 on the left, which has been knocked over. It seems more logical to me to simply have on the yellow sign that is already there a 30 kilometre thing instead of windy gravel road. It's reasonably obvious. Like it's gravel. Like you can see it. You don't need a sign to explain it as gravel. What you need is an advisory sign that says if that particular road average speed is, let's say, 30, then you just put 30 there. The sign's already there. You don't need the 2 other signs. You don't need speed limit signs, 2 of them, in fact. And the other thing is, I think more people in the country, again, this is entirely anecdotal and could be completely wrong, are used to following the advisory signs. Because literally, if you drive around New Zealand and don't follow them, then you will be off the road on a fairly regular basis. Now, not everyone drops to if it says 45, 45, but you certainly slow down from 100 to a lower speed to take that corner. So I think if you took the average motorist in New Zealand, are they more inclined to follow the advisory signs because they know through experience that if you do not, you are in trouble than follow the speed limit signs, which I think we know a large number of people do not follow. Hence, lots of people get tickets. So again, I just think we're missing a massive opportunity to utilize something that's already ingrained in people's behavior, that better reflects what we want them to do, that reduces the cost of the signage, which means we can do more of these roads more quickly in our program. And surely that's a better outcome.
Thank you. So would you like to second the resolution?
I still believe we're building an expectation about speed limit signs being the preference, and we will face the risk of people coming back and saying we want 60-kilometre-hour signs. And at the end of the day, if that's what people come back and say, then that's fine. But as long as they're very aware and that we make it clear in our consultation information that there are options, that we also make it clear that if we use this method, we could probably do more roads more quickly with signage. Then I guess we just wait and see what people come back with. We're going out for the consultation anyway. I mean, it's not like it's an added cost to add the extra information in, but well, there shouldn't be any extra cost.
Councillor Dakey and then Councillor Butler.
Thank you. It's just a point to check. Councillor Kinmont said 30k for the causeway, and I think on page 237 the number might actually be wrong in the chart, because it says unconventional low volume road and then you've got a 50, and then Mike's talked about 30. Can we just check the chart on page 237 what the proposed speed actually is? Because I think that I'm unclear.
For Mapua Causeway, we were going out with 50 kilometres, but I will go back and check.
Well, the reason I ask is because in the category road classification, you've got unconventional low.
Right. Okay.
Which would lead me to think that you meant 30, and then.
I think it was an error where I didn't update.
So I'd just like to clarify what the councillors of that ward were expecting, because that box could say perhaps it was either, because it's proposed, but the classification is different.
Yeah.
So I don't know how we want to deal with that, Chair.
All right. Well, I think that could be classified as a minor amendment. So, and I think Councillor Kinmont is probably well placed to provide some advice on that. Thank you, Councillor Dakey. Councillor Butler.
Thank you. Yeah, I just wondered if we could have, I mean, I'm prepared to second that, but whether or not we can have some examples of advisory signs in the documentation. And a variety of things, which include one that says slow down or go slowly, or that, just the ones that will actually be directed at people's speed.
We could have two sections. We could have the one for the advisory signs for the curved roads, talking about those sort of narrow unsealed roads, but then also addressing Councillor Dakey's point about the slow areas for the urban roads with no footpaths. So we could put up an option for both of those.
Yeah, because I mean, underpinning this, the reality is that there's no speed cameras anywhere. And, most of these roads that we're talking about, there's no, not in my area. No, there's not going to be anybody actually being given a ticket in these places. So we've got to be realistic about the environment that we're working in for these speed signs and get something that's really going to work for the community, not something that's just going to fit into a template.
So in the consultation document, what we're hearing is that we want some examples. We want to be clear as to the cost implications of the different signs and potentially a resultant speed of implementation. So I think you've probably, Bill and Jane and Dwayne, you've got that message. Oh, welcome, Councillor Maru. So on that basis, Councillor Butler, you prepared to second the resolution?
Yes, I am.
Thank you. Seconded by Councillor Maru.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And this should have been at the end of the day. Sorry for late. So I guess I want to probably reiterate and support Mayor King's statement in terms of if what we are trying to achieve is safety on the roads, there's more ability to put warning signs and advisory signs on discrete gravel roads and other places that I too would take more notice of than a sign that I can't remember once I've passed it. And I guess where you see gravel roads, they are gravel roads. It's a constant reminder when you drive them. But I have this issue when I pass the sign a K.5 down the road. I can't even remember what the speed limit is because we changed them so much. So I get the ones where we've got some rural residential and some things in our ward, but the roads in the middle of nowhere, I'd rather have an advisory warning sign that we can put up at the start of it instead of repeating it. And even the Mapuru example was a classic example. If the average speed, I think it's probably 5 to 10K along that street, and we're going to put a 50K or 30K sign on there, it doesn't make any sense to me. So I'm not sure what we achieve in terms of if the intention is to reduce speeds and make it more safe for people who are aware, the numbers aren't going to do that. So I don't know if I guess it's going to consultation, but sorry I missed the first part of this debate.
Thank you. So we've had a mover and a seconder of the resolution, which I'm about to put, but Dwayne, you've got a comment?
Very sorry to interrupt. I'm just wondering, there's only 2 working days effectively to make the changes to the consultation document and get it out before the 4th. And I'm wondering whether you would entertain the idea of pushing those timeframes out by a week, if that's okay. So something like the 11th to the 23rd.
Yes, I think so, because I think the consultation document needs to reflect the discussion that we've had. So if we can make those date changes, and I'll just check with the mover and that you're happy to push it out a week, and the seconder, you're happy to push it out a week. So thank you. So I am going to put that resolution now. Moved Councillor Dowler, seconded Councillor Butler. All those in favour, please say aye. Against? And that is carried. Thank you. Oh, cup of tea time apparently. So if we could just have 10 minutes, so be back here at 10 to 11. Thank you.
A hole in the wall. But it's a case of us having communications out, which we're doing now, tell them when it'll be effective in terms of the close down. Because once it's closed, you can't get in it, you can't use it, you can't borrow. Although you can borrow books electronically in some forms.
Thank you. Could we just be a little bit clearer about this? So, I mean, I agree with Councillor Ellis that when a paper came to us in terms of the work that needed to be done on the Richmond Library, we supported a decision which was actually, I think, spend a bit more money and keep the library open. Yep. And so that's what we're left sitting with, that we agreed to spend more money and keep the library open because it's so important for the community. But now we're finding that actually the library is going to be closed for a month. So how did we get from spend more money and keep the library open to now we're shutting it for a month?
To get the most efficient construction to do least disruption, rather than having parts of it shut down, the CAF shut down parts. It's going to be much better for everyone if it's a short duration. We do all the strengthening work and also some waterproofing.
And so if in actual fact we wanted to keep the library open, what would be the additional cost?
It would lengthen the overall construction time mainly, because we're limited in what we can do if it's open. Some things we are doing are noisy and dusty, which does not lend itself to having the library open. I can provide you with a detailed plan of what we're doing when during that period and the rationale for the closure if you would like.
I guess I guess what's sitting behind my question is like, how and getting to that decision, because what I'm hearing is that it's a decision that management have made, which is not consistent with the decision that council has made. So management's made a subsequent decision to shut the library. It's about understanding how you considered, how were the impacts on staff and users of the library considered in making that decision.
The
Do you have a
decision
comment,
was,
Mr. Kirby?
yeah, I do have a comment, and I know I raised a concern myself with it. Can you just leave this with me and I'll go back to the team and see what we can do to resolve this? Because I do agree it is a surprise and we need to sort it out.
All right, so I think councillors will leave that with Mr. Kirby to come back, and we'll expect to get some more information on it. So Councillor Walker.
Thank you, through you, Madam Chair. There was a project that we had, and I just can't quite find it on my screen, even though I've highlighted it at home. The Rat Street project that we did, and we had some capital budget left over from that upgrade. Just wondering, does that capital budget stay local, as in, can we look at upgrading some of the hotspots that we've currently got in Motueka around things like the Petherbridge Drain and Ingalls Street?
Yeah, through you, Madam Chair. When we have under expenditure, generally declared as a saving, unless there is somewhere in that same account, there still was a closed account, and if there's over expenditure elsewhere, it'll be used to offset that over expenditure. So it stays within the stormwater account. It doesn't stay within a region.
So just a point of for me to process this, we had a budget of 600K. From what I understand, from what I've read, is that it came in at 189, pretty much 190K. That's quite a big difference between what we budgeted and what we've delivered on. And in many ways, it's a good news story. But we can't repurpose that money locally. It just goes back into the bigger pool. Is that what you're saying?
We need to look at where we have, because there's overs and unders with capital projects all the time. So we look at the bottom line and make sure we still got that surplus. But then it'll be the next priority on that list if we did bring something forward to use it in. Yeah, so it comes through the overall project report where the money is being used.
All right, Richard, you got a comment?
Yeah, when it comes to the capital program, we do have a list of projects that we have in that program. And if a particular project comes under and we make a saving, unless there's another project with the same funding source that needs a little bit of money, might have the delegation to move it. Otherwise, we just declare it a saving, we don't spend it.
Thank you. Councillor Dowler.
Thank you. On page 85, we talk about the Manoy Street roundabout, Wakawera Street, Manoy Street, coming over budget of about 450K. A few meetings ago, I asked for the option of a roundabout being built off-site and brought into place to play like it was done at the Clock Tower corner with NZTA, which saved considerable road closure time, considerable construction time. I just need to know whether that has been taken into consideration or not.
We look at all the various options, but there's a number of issues, I guess. One is the Wakatu land and vesting of roads, and what might have led to some savings from that project that we could use as a roundabout. So currently the roundabout has a big question mark on it in terms of funding. And Jamie might want to talk about precasting and various other options which we've considered.
I think it might be best for the project manager to provide you some information directly, councillor.
All right, maybe to all the Motueka board councillors.
Will do.
Thank you. Okay, I think that takes us to the end of that report. Thank you for, oh no, hang on, we've got one more.
I couldn't find it. I found it again. The Motueka West again, the upgrade to the Wakawera Street State Highway 60 intersection. During the, the funding that we were given to do the Soccerway Walkway, transport choices, I think. We asked if there was a possibility that something could be done at that corner, and a firm came up with a design for that intersection, and it was totally disastrous. So if you talk to Dan Roberts or whoever, the project managers, they will give you a copy of what not to do, because it was going to basically shut down 4 businesses because of they couldn't be accessed by the vehicles that they can be accessed by at present. So if anything's going to happen with the design of that intersection, please be very wary, and I refer you back to the 2010 traffic study that NZTA put together at a huge cost, and there was a design in that intersection. They've admitted it was an overkill due to the size, and it could possibly be reduced, which they did at the lockdown, but it was a feasible option. So I'm just pointing it out there because it's red flagged in here.
All right, thank you. And finally, Councillor Day.
Thank you, Chair. I know it's Ms. Kirby, you're going to have a look at the library issue there, but I just want to point out, and not to criticise here, but this is again about reporting. The first part of the report and facilities maintenance says the front part of the library will only be closed. Now, this is just for when we get these reports. We're often quite reliant on these, and I'll make my decisions based upon what I read. I don't query every single item in here. So I just ask that between different parts of the report, we could get a clear guidance, because I'd hate for, I mean, we could have slipped past this and I would have found out later on. So just ask that again, we could just double check some of these. Thank you.
I could respond to that. I found out this morning because I asked the question. I wanted to know exactly the time frame for library closure. And I found out this morning that the plan was now to close for that period of time from the 12th of July to August. And I can provide more, because I wanted to have the latest.
So, yeah,
I wanted to have the latest information on the library and also for Queen Street Bridge for this meeting.
good. All right, thank you very much. So we're left with a big question mark around the library, but Richard, that's sitting with you, and we expect to get more information on it. But you know, thank you for getting the up-to-date information, Russell. It's appreciated. All right, I think that we do have a resolution up there on the board to receive the report. If anybody would like, moved by Councillor Mailing, seconded by Councillor Dowler. I'm going to put that resolution. All those in favour, please say aye. Aye. Against, carried. Thank you. And that takes us to our last paper. Kat, thank you very much for waiting. And
David Stevenson.
And David is online. So I am going to hand over to, am I handing over to you, Kat? Am I, or to David? All right, thank you. We'll hand over to you, Kat. Thank you.
Kia ora koutou. Today we are seeking to approve the submission to the Ministry of the Environment on the proposed amendments to the waste legislation. So the new legislation is intended to replace both the Waste Minimisation Act and the Litter Act. We're also adding a resolution to direct staff to make a submission on the proposed product stewardship regulations, but we'll come to that second. Generally, we are supportive of the proposed amendments with some exceptions. Also note that this is the input to this drafted submission has had a cross-council input, and we've also taken it through a working group of elected members, including councillors Maru, Mailing, McKenzie and Daiki. As I previously said, this is generally supported with a couple of exceptions. We are supportive of changing the structure for how levy payments are calculated. This was previously done purely based on population. Now there will be 20% of that will be allocated as a fixed flat rate. So this is a big one for smaller councils, including us, although we receive a modest benefit from this change of structure. However, we have raised concerns in our submission about the proposed broad application for how that levy could be used, for instance, for reducing environmental harm or adding to environmental benefits. So it could theoretically, under what's proposed, be used for something that has nothing to do with waste at all, and we've flagged that as a concern in the submission. We're supportive there's a few things that we're supportive of with conditionally. So I'll just run through a couple of those. We're supportive of changing the government review time of the waste levy from every 3 years as it currently is to 5 years. But we've also noted that councils also benefit from similar reductions in administrative burden, and that's something that we'd like to see reflected in local government expectations as well. And we've, on a similar note, we've highlighted the cost that comes to local government that comes with frequent changes in strategic direction, and highlighted a few examples of how that affects our Tasman District Council in particular. There are concerns that we have around the changes proposed for roles and responsibilities of councils, and that there could be an additional burden intentionally or otherwise placed on local government without necessarily applying appropriate resourcing to support those changes that they're wanting to see as well. We're supportive of the ability to continue to be able to make waste related bylaws. However, our preference is that national legislation be drafted in a manner that we don't actually require it. If the national legislation was adequate, ideally you would only need bylaws for particularly localised issues. And so while they're drafting and in the process of doing this, we see an opportunity for them to improve that, to avoid duplication of councils working across the country, basically producing very similar bylaws. All in all, it proposes a much more enabling legislation in terms of what our compliance team can do as well. And we're supporting a bit more emphasis on measuring of mismanaged waste as well, as currently measures of success are based primarily on waste going to landfill, whereas it could be a bit of a false indicator of success if it looks like we're reducing our waste landfill deposits, whereas it could be that it's going to the wrong place instead. David, do you want to weigh in at this point?
No, I think that covers it pretty well. Thank you.
I will move on now to the proposed product stewardship regulations. This is a consultation which is also closing on the same day. So we're seeking a resolution to direct staff to make that submission, which we'll be planning on doing this afternoon, and seeking retrospective approval for the submission in detail. Essentially, this is about a subset of products which have been declared as priority products in 2020. These are agrochemicals sold in plastic containers and drums of 1,000 litres or less. We're looking at plastic bale wrap and silage sheet, small plastic bags containing products such as seed, feed, fertiliser, etc., and then your bulk woven polypropylene bags. So there have been some voluntary initiatives. There's a couple of operators who are doing that at the moment, but uptake on this has somewhat plateaued. Both producers and consumers need support and incentive in order to get a little more participation on this. So the scheme's funding model is to recover the cost of collection and management through fees paid by producers or imports. And that's an approach that was supported during the co-design of the scheme as well. It's similar to what happens with tyres currently. So the staff position on this is that generally in support. It aligns with the intent of our waste management plan, which is soon to be adopted. And I'll throw over to David now for any questions of a more technical nature.
All right, thank you, Kat. That was a very good explanation. So, David, did you have anything you wanted to add at this point, or shall we just go to questions from councillors?
Happy to take questions. On the second one, on the face of it, it looks like a good scheme design, and it's something that council's been consistently calling for, where manufacturers manage the disposal of these kind of products.
Great, thank you. Councillor Dowler, then Councillor Ellis.
First of all, I'm happy to move the the Hooferdiki.
Thank you very much. So just to check, so you're happy to move it with number 3, which,
I'm gonna just talk about that.
Yeah.
But first of all, page 114, number 11 in the, you haven't highlighted the yes or no or unsure. I just noticed that last night and I thought, oh, okay. And then I read the script on the side and I think you're saying unsure or it's definitely yes, one of the two. I'm not. Anyway, highlight that and it'll be good. And as for the last bit regarding the containers and stuff like that, I've actually dealt with David just recently over a query from an orchardist in Motueka who was tearing his hair out or he was going to have a big fire. And David put me in the right direction and I understand the guys followed up, but if we can do this, it's that'd be absolutely awesome. That's why I'm more than happy to move it and get it on.
thank you. Councillor Ellis.
Thank you. Yeah, it looks good to me. It's always great to have these things sorted and it's great to have the industry buy-in on this as well. Is there any potential to add to our submission that we'd like them to move forward a lot faster on the issue of batteries and lithium-ion batteries? Because I understand that that's looking to go to a similar type of scheme, but the timeline keeps being drawn out and they're causing so many issues around the country with our rubbish collection too. So while just thought, because we need to keep pushing for that because these schemes appear so far to be working quite well for the tyres and we really need to get that one sorted before we have a major issue here that we've seen around other areas in the country.
Right. Can we, so that's a good point from Councillor Ellis. Can you take that under consideration in terms of your submission? David.
Yeah, I think we could add that, look at adding that to our opening comments in the submission.
Thank you. So we have had the resolution moved by Councillor Dowler and seconded by Councillor Mayling. And you want to comment, right?
Look, I think this is something we've been asking for a long time. And recently I was looking after some cattle where we had baleage, where there's a voluntary scheme and there's a charge, but the farmer's paying it. So he's buying the product and then he has to pay as it goes away. But it's much better than it ending up in the rivers like it did before. So there are voluntary schemes working. It would be better to have some government funding or you pay as you buy the wrap than you pay for someone to take it away later. But it is working and we just need to expand it.
It was seconded by Councillor Mayling. Yes, all right, thank you. So we have had the resolution moved by Councillor Dowler, seconded by Councillor Mayling. So I shall put the resolution as it is up on the board. All those in favour, please say aye. Against, carried. And thank you, David and Kat, for your work in this area and for the very efficient way I think that you took those of us through it who were on the waste working group. So thank you for that. 12:24 councillors, finishing with 6 minutes to spare, and I shall hand over to Councillor Hill for a closing karakia.
Thank you, Chair. He karaki tātou. Kia hora te marino, kia whakapapa Pounamu Te Moana. Aroha atu, aroha mai, tēnā tātou, tēnā tātou, tēnā tātou katoa. Let calm go forth. Goodwill's been exchanged and acknowledgements to us here.
Thank you. So, councillors, we have got workshop this afternoon at 1:30, I think. Transportation. Oh, 1 o'clock.